Okay, it's time. Let's start the meeting today. So this is the serial lecture of the parable through nature of human existence taught by Shakyamuni Buddha. Today's topic is the meaning of the pine tree, but the title is The Two Kinds of Happiness. So if we have a time around the end, I want to show the short video clip about this parable. So let me, or somebody can give us a synopsis, Frank, can you? Until the entry, the story of the true nature of human.
Okay. So there was a traveler walking across this boundless plain. It was autumn and it was evening, and he was on his way home with a heavy load on his back from his work, and he was hurrying home across this vast open plain when suddenly he saw these white objects in front of him, and he picked one up, and he was surprised to see so many of them. He picked one up and he noticed that it was a bone, a human bone, and of course his surprise became even much greater to find that there was human bones here. So he thought, where did these come from? He looked around, he didn't see a graveyard or a crematory in sight. So he was puzzled as to how these white bones came here. But then from the distance up ahead, he heard this huge growl of this hungry tiger. And instantly he realized the meaning of these scattered white bones. Travelers like him who had passed this way had been devoured. But this tiger had devoured them. So, not wasting another moment, the traveler turned on his heels and ran back the way he came. But in his panic, he took a wrong road and ended up at the edge of a cliff, where growing from the edge of this cliff there was a pine tree. He considered climbing up the tree, but then he realized that tiger climbed the tree. So he put that idea out of his head.
Thank you. Thank you, Frank. Yes, that's the synopsis of the story until the part of pine tree. So when the traveler picked up the white bone, he realized that human being have to die in the end, but he didn't think that was the problem of his own. He thought somebody else's problem. But the moment he spotted the tiger in the distance, which is fiercely coming toward him, he realized that he might be the next, or surely he will be the next. So immediately started running running away from the tiger. And he reached the precipice and found out a pine tree. And this is all about something which Buddhism emphasizes. So as a warm-up still continues, I'd like to talk about a false sense of security. You know, false sense of security is everywhere. Don't you think so? Many things gives us false sense of security. We don't know the reality, and just we want to believe that we're in a safe situation. Although, actually, we are not. If we look at the situation closely enough, we realize that we're all in a precarious situation. Look how innocent the frog looks like. He doesn't even realize he's on the verge of dying. What's more, everything looks fine. The sky is blue, the breeze is comfortable, and nothing coming at me from the distance. But a train might be coming closer and closer from behind. And the key is broken. Key is open, but we don't know. So as a warm-up, I'd like you to give us one example for each person. False sense of security. What do you think? Okay, let's start from Bita. Any example would be okay.
So actually the guy sitting on a chair on a train track, I saw a YouTube video about someone who did the same action, who wanted to take a selfie of herself. And believe it or not, the train came and she got hit. She was killed. And her friend who was watching her, her friend lost an arm. I just read that. The selfie. So because we have this false sense of security that I'm okay, we can do such very risky behavior. We don't feel it's going to happen to me. So that's my example. I have my personal example about the security of having a job, and then for remodelation, I lost my job. So in just one day to another. So we feel the security of having the work, the way of living, but just for X reason, we can lose the job. So that's another feeling about economic security.
So many times when I'm walking around the street, there's cars flying by on the road 40 and 50 miles an hour, and people are walking on the pavement and they don't think anything of these cars, and there's only a short space between the cars and the people on the pavement. And anytime a car can lose control and end up on the pavement and crash into people. And if that happens, someone is going to get killed or badly injured. And it does happen, Sometimes it happens that you see a car up on the pavement, and I've seen it. So I realize that this is a very precarious sense of security to be walking around when the cars are flying by.
Thank you. Japan, several days ago, there was a knifing rampage. 26-year-old guy burst into a facility of disabled people and killed 19 people over there, residents, an employee maybe. And the location of the facility is such a remote area, a mountainous or rural area. And people all got surprised. Why did this happen? Because the town looks so calm, serene, and peaceful. People were all shocked. This casualty is so big that even the Daily Breeze of the newspaper here had a report on this incident. And this is the one example that people are all in a false sense of security. And if our car has an airbag, we all think we are safe, even we had a collision. But there was a flaw in the airbag of Takata, which is a Japan company. So a lot of people were killed by the airbag. So we are all in many kinds of false sense of security. This is a short clip video of 10 selfies, which was taken a moment before their death. Is this the one?
Smiley's selfie was uploaded minutes before Courtney and Senator, 32, died in a fatal collision with a truck in North Carolina. Courtney, who was driving at the time, posted a selfie on Facebook where she referred to a farewell song and the last words sang from shared with her friends. That happy song makes me happy. Authorities said the post, visible only to her friends, was made at 8:33 a.m. The first 911 call received about the crash was 1 minute later.
Okay, that's all about video. So I found this quote from somebody, Dick Thornburg. Does somebody know him? Maybe he might be a politician. He said, instead of generating either unnecessary alarm or false sense of security regarding these fundamental issues, the best course is to empower people with the truth. I don't know what he's referring to fundamental issues, but for us Buddhists, it's a fundamental issue of our life. So we have to empower ourselves with truth, through teaching, the Buddhist truth. Buddha is giving us a wake-up call. So today I'd like to show one of his calls. And in general, it's one of the Eightfold Path. Does this need to have S at the end? Eightfold Path? Singular. Okay. The Eightfold Path. Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha taught us, here maybe path means truth, right? So on the Buddhist path, there are 8 kinds of ways we have to put into practice. Today I don't have time to explain all of them, but one of them is right view. So right view is to look at things as it is, to look at the reality as it is, to look at our true image as we are. So right view is very important to go forward on the Buddhist path. And the purpose of Shakyamuni Buddha teaching this is to, of course, it's the purpose of Buddhism. It's attaining absolute happiness. This is our goal. So by practicing this right view, we can go forward more and more closer to our goal. It's absolute happiness, the happiness that doesn't collapse. And I'm going to talk about this happiness a little later. And today's topic, main topic, is one of Shakyamuni Buddha taught there are 2 kinds of happiness. And in this parable of true nature of human existence, one of the 2 happiness, which is relative happiness, is represented by the pine tree. This is the meaning of the pine tree. Then what is the relative happiness is the next question. before getting into that, let's think about happiness. What is happiness? We think we all know, but it's a very complicated. So happiness, when we realize, so if we analyze the state of mind, we realize that it has two components, which is peace of mind and satisfaction. People often say, I want money. Money is what makes me happy. But actually, it is not money what they want. It is peace of mind and satisfaction that what they want. For instance, let's say when you come home, you find the big box in front of the entrance door of your house. You start thinking, oh, I don't remember, I don't think I ordered something at Amazon.com. What is this box? How strange. But I have to see inside. Well, let me open it. When you open it, the box is filled with $100 bills. Wow. What do you think about this? How do you feel? Are you happy? Of course not. I think you get scared. Scary. Yeah. And suddenly your heart may start beating fast. You might be looking around in a suspicious manner. We don't want such money. When we say we want money, it's not money we want. It's peace of mind and satisfaction. Or some people say, I want new house. But again, it's not the house that they want. It's peace of mind and satisfaction. If someone builds a house, new house, and if there are a lot of water leakage, they cannot have peace of mind or satisfaction. Or if the neighbors are very mean to them, they start losing their joy of having a new house. So again, it's not the newly built house. It's the peace of mind and satisfaction that having newly built house brings to them. When we don't have money, we have anxiety. We have to wonder, how can I live on? How can I afford to send my son to college? What should I do if my old parents get seriously ill and have to be hospitalized? How can I return the debt? We will be filled with anxiety. So we feel the necessity to diminish those anxiety and discontent. If you don't have money, even if there are new versions of iPhone, they have to keep using the older version of iPhone. And frustration and discontent keep rising in your heart. And next, what does relative mean in this phrase, relative happiness? That means we always compare ourselves with others when we want to feel joy or pleasure. Let me give you one or two examples. This is the Chinese character which means happiness. Do you know the origin of this character? It's related to the Great War of China. Great War, I think many, all of you, most of you know the Great War of China. It was built almost 2,000 years ago. The government of ancient China had to build this long wall to prevent the barbarian invasion from the north of their country. There are ethnic people who used to use cavalry, troops of cavalry. Cavalry is a horse. They use horse, and can you explain, Frank? Cavalry. Yeah. Army on horses. So often those barbarians attacked ancient China using those horse or army on horses. They had to build such a long wall. The length of the wall is 1,490 miles. It's not so high. The height is 29 feet. And while the government was constructing the wall, all the time they had a battle with the barbarian. And usually the Chinese troops won the battle. And they got a lot of hostage. And most of them were killed immediately. But some who were blessed with some skills or capability survived and they were engaged in enforced labor of constructing the wall. But most of them were killed, And because they are hostage, they had a handcuff. So those who survived were relatively happier than those who were killed. So they thought they took the image of handicap, the image of handicap. And from this image, the Chinese character happiness was made up. So it shows happiness is all relative. The host is not so happy compared with ordinary people like us, but when they compare themselves with those who were killed, they thought they were happy. And let me mention my experience. I used to be a very good student in a junior high school, although Peter doesn't believe it. I had an examination which all the students in the same state took. And a few weeks afterward, a teacher told me that I ranked 9th among thousands of students. I ranked 9. I was so happy. I felt euphoria for some time until I came to know that one of my classmates had ranked 5th. So when I realized this, my joy was diminished by half. When I reflect upon this incident, I think, when I compared myself with most of the students who took the examination, I felt happiness. But when I compared myself with a certain classmate who beat me, and because he was so close to me, my happiness decreased by half. So when who we compare ourselves, matters a lot when we want to feel joy or pleasure. If we compare ourselves with people who are much blessed than us, we don't feel joy. So happiness is all relative in this sense. And let me go on. So this happiness, which is called relative happiness, has flaws. There are 3 flaws. One is there's no completion in relative happiness. And the second is they are all temporary. How so? By the way, these are the examples of relative happiness. Having freedom due to earning a high income, being loved and respected by many people, getting married to a wonderful person, being attractive, being healthy. We all want those happiness. But Buddha taught these are relative happiness. And regarding the first flaw, how much money do you think you get satisfied? How about you, Rocio? How much money do you think you get satisfied with? $10,000. Okay. That's a lot. He will be satisfied with $3,000 a month. That's quite sum of money. But this person finally got $3,000 a month. And after a while, he said, maybe I could use a little more. In this way, our greed keeps expanding. Even if we get $10,000 a month, we still think, I could use a little more. A little more. This is our greed, is the expansion of our greed. But, there's a saying, a flea makes flea waste. An elephant waste. This means the more we have, the more income we have, the more expenditure we have. So even if we have achieved our goal of having $10,000 a month, our expenditure also grow, and maybe we end up making some debt. There are a lot of examples of people who won the lottery and gained a lot of, how much money? Billions of dollars. But many people end up making a lot of debt because their expenditure skyrocketed. And how about marriage? Many people want to get married. Marriage and relationships comes with a lot of obligations, but still we want them, right? But it comes with a territory, with a lot of obligation. And, I want to show one of the classical joke of marriage. I never knew what real happiness was until I got married. Then it was too late. when I mentioned this joke long time ago, there are many people who didn't understand it. Maybe my pronunciation was not good. I think you get the meaning. The deep meaning of this joke is that when people are single, they want a partner. But once they got partner, to return to the original state of being single. Our mind is like a pendulum, swinging from one side to one side. It doesn't imply which brings true happiness. And then there are many jokes, about marriage. When people get married and stay as couple for some time, if marriage brings perfect peace of mind and satisfaction, there will be no flirting or no complaints between them. But little by little, dissatisfaction, discontent, frustration start being created. How to find the unpleasant fact. So some people say marriage is a three-ring circus. Start with engagement ring and proceed to wedding ring, end up with suffering. I think this is universal. Of course, this doesn't apply you guys here because you are Buddhist. You are listening to the truth. You will be exempt. And another, they said, the only thing I have in common with my husband is that we were married on the same day. Nothing else. That's the reality. And recently, I've heard much worse example. So don't be worried. This is an example which was found in Japan. A researcher found a new mental disorder in Japan. Retired husband syndrome. In short, it's called RHS. Okay, can you read, Rocio, the explanation?
Literally, one husband being at home stress syndrome is a psychosomatic stress-related illness which has been estimated to occur in 60% of Japan's older senior population. It is a condition where a woman being to exhibit signs of physical illness and depression has their husband reached or approached retirement.
Thank you.
Yeah. One's husband being at home stress syndrome is a psychosomatic. Do you know, Frank, what psychosomatic?
Yeah, it's something.
Oh, I see. Thank you. Because this is psychosomatic, it starts with the brain, starts with our mental situation, but ends up with kind of many physical symptoms like depression. Start with depression, then skin rash, asthma, ulcer, high blood pressure. And at the beginning, this was found only in couples whose husband are retired, because after retirement, the husband spend much more time at home. recently, the same syndrome is found in couples who are on their 40s or 50s because of the economic decline. And because husbands are trying to have more and more control over wife. One day, a husband says to wife, "Oh, shall we go shopping?" And they go shopping. But husband doesn't get out from the car, and he doesn't help the wife. He's waiting in the car. So wife has to do shopping as quickly as possible. But sometimes wife takes a little too much time for shopping. And then when she comes back to the car, gets mad. How long do you make me wait? This gives a wife so much stress. I can understand. So it shows the peace of mind and satisfaction that marriage brings people originally. It doesn't last so long. And yeah, when we don't have a car, we just think we need a car that can run, make turns, and stops. That's all I want. So we are satisfied with a relatively shabby car, cheap car. We are satisfied. But once we start driving, we start thinking, oh, maybe I need a bigger one next time. Or maybe I need a car which has Wi-Fi. I need a car that looks much smart, much fancy. The initial satisfaction doesn't last. And the second flaw of the relative happiness is they are all temporary. In Japanese proverb, they say, money has legs, because as if money has legs, they walk away from their wallet. But in English, they say money talks, all money says is goodbye. You know, Japan is a cash society. They carry a lot of money in the wallet. So it's obvious. Here, many people use credit cards, but maybe you will get surprised when we see the balance in our bank account on internet or mail. They go away so quickly from our wallet. And the biggest flaw of the relative happiness is so those relative happiness lose their light when we finally face death, because those relative happiness, money, status, fame, health, relationships, and so on, all based on the foundation of life, our life. So when this foundation starts shaking, all these relatives also start shaking and finally collapse. For example, I think many people take medical checkup once a year, whole body medical checkup. In my case, I take one in May in Japan. But You, Frank, maybe you too. So it's very important to have a checkup so that we can find the bad symptom as early as possible. Like we take blood test, X-ray for the lungs, electrocardiogram, vision test, and hearing test. But what if after the medical checkup, you got a call from the hospital and the nurse says, you need a second diagnostic test. You need to take a second diagnostic test. Can you come to the hospital? You feel something suspicious and something, some anxiety arises in us. And after the second diagnostic test, you got a direct call from the doctor. The doctor says, can you come and see me next week? I have something to. How do you feel? Suddenly, all the scenery changes, and the scenery looks monochrome. And suddenly, you feel all alone in this world. Something starts shaking. The foundation of life is now shaking. And when we finally have to die and leave this world, that's the most, that's the last thing we want to do. Family members who support us in hard times are precious to us. However, none of them will accompany us. Just to be apart from someone we love for 1 or 2 years would be painful. How we would miss them. However, after we die, we will not be able to see them, hear their voice, exchange emails with them, support them, or be supported them ever again. We will eternally separated from them. If something precious to us is stolen, we grow so frustrated and upset that we can't sleep at night. However, when we die, we have to depart from this world all alone, stark naked, leaving everything as it is. Our resentment for this will surely run deep. In the history of Japan, the one who acquired the greatest abundance of relative happiness would be Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Hideyoshi rose up the ranks, became the lord of the realm, built Osaka Castle and his second home, Jurakudai, and basked in great luxury. His prosperity earned him the respect of others. Yet, even so, he reached the end of his life, having never found the satisfaction that could make him shout out, "How glad I am to have been born human!" His last poem is proof of this. My life came like dew, disappears like dew. All of Osaka is a dream within a dream. My life came like dew, disappears like dew. all of Osaka is a dream within. Maybe it's becoming a little long, so I'd like to have a short break here for about 15 minutes. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I happen to find it. Oh, I mean, the layout and design is in the PowerPoint itself. Yeah. Mm. 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 In the subject. We're going to start in a few minutes. See the picture of it. We make up humanity. Family members who support us in hard times are precious to us. However, when we die, none of them will accompany us. Just to be apart from someone we love for 1 or 2 years would be painful. How we would miss them. However, after we die, we will not be able to see them, hear their voice, exchange emails with them, support them, or be supported by them ever again. We will be eternally separated from them. If something precious to us is stolen, we grow so frustrated and upset that we can't sleep at night. However, when we die, we have to depart from this world all alone, stark naked, leaving everything as it is. Our resentment for this will surely run deep. In history of Japan, the one who acquired the greatest abundance of relative happiness would be Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Hideyoshi rose up the ranks, became the lord, built Osaka Castle and his second home, Drap-dai, and basked in great luxury. His prosperity earned him the respect of others. Yet even so, he reached the end of his life, having never found satisfaction that could make him shout out, "How glad I am to have been born human!" His last poem is proof of this. My life came like dew, disappears like dew. All of Osaka is a dream within a dream. It's okay. It reduces my burden. No, it's just watch the video clip for 8 minutes.
Parable on the true nature of human existence. One day, the king of Kosa, King Kasenazu, went to listen to Shakyamuni Buddha's sermon. This is what human beings are like. Shakyamuni Buddha taught King Kasenazu, who was listening to Buddhism for the first time, about this through a parable. Millions of years ago, the traveler went alone across the vast, grassy plain. It was a dreary autumn evening, and the chill wind blew. As he hurried along the path, all at once he noticed white objects scattered around and came to a stop, wondering what they could be. He picked one up and was startled to discover that it was a human bone. What were so many bones doing in such a place? Lost in thought over this, he moved not a step further. Soon from the darkness ahead, he heard something moving and a strange growling sound. He peered into the gloom and made out the distant figure of a fierce tiger, maddened by starvation, racing straight at him. Instantly, the meaning of the bones became clear. Other travelers, passing this way like him, must have been eaten by the tiger. Instinctively, he sensed that he was in the same situation. Terrified, he ran back the way he had come, desperate to escape the tiger's jaws. But no human can outrun a tiger. Before long, he felt the tiger's terrible hot breath at his back. It seemed that he had taken the wrong turn, for the path ended suddenly in a sharp cliff. He was trapped. A single pine tree stood on the cliff. The traveler thought that even if he climbed the tree, he wouldn't be able to escape from the tiger. All he could do was despair. Fortunately, right after that, he spotted a box.
Okay, once again, let's read this passage. Could you read this 2 paragraphs?
Even though he accomplished such a great undertaking, Hideyoshi left this world forlorn, saying all was but a fleeting dream within a dream. The once ruler of Japan, who had exerted power over every warlord across the nation, was now a diminutively built old man who was frightened with his pitch-black afterlife. He was to enter stark naked and completely alone, with no idea what was to happen to him after death. He had become a mere shadow of his former self.
Yeah, this is Hideyoshi. It shows us what would happen when we face our own death. And this is Hideyoshi's historical figure of Japan, but I think in the United States, it's Howard Hughes. He was born in 1905 and died in 1976. He's an American business tycoon, entrepreneur, investor, aviator, aerospace engineer, inventor, filmmaker, and philanthropist. Well, a few years ago, there was a film about Howard Hughes. The title was Aviator. Did you watch it? Yeah, he earned such a big money. He amassed money, and he became one of the richest person in the world. But he had a airplane crash, and he injured so much. And because of the pain he had, because of the injury, he had to use a lot of drugs. And little by little, he became drug addict. And he developed a dislike against human beings because he lost all the trust in people. So even he had to have a meeting with his business partner. He used telephone. He didn't meet people. He confined himself in a hotel room in Las Vegas. And he became skinny and like bone and skin. And at the end, he had a heart problem. And he was on the way to the hospital by a small airplane. But he passed away in the airplane. The end of his life was so sad. He died all alone. And Shakyamuni Buddha taught us one parable about regarding what would happen when we have to leave this world at the end. That's the parable of 3 wise. So first, let us read this parable. Okay, one screen for one person. Could you start, Frank?
Long ago, there was a wealthy man who lived happily with 3 wives. He loved wife number 1 the most dearly, worrying over her whenever the weather was a bit cold or hot. He catered to her every wish and never did a thing to hurt her feelings.
During his life, he was known as one of the most financially successful individuals in the world.
Well, it matches too. His love for wife number 2 was not as great, but because he had gone to great lengths, even fighting with others to win her, he kept her beside him at all times and enjoyed her.
Okay. He's remembered for his eccentric behavior and reclusive lifestyle is later life, caused in part by worsening obsessive compulsive disorder and chronic pain.
He visited wife number 3 when he was lonely or sad and needed comfort.
Before long, however, the wealthy man contracted a terminal illness and was confined to bed. He panicked as the shadow of death closed in minute by minute.
He called wife number one to his side, confessed how lonely he felt, and begged her to join him on his journey to the other world.
Unlike other matters, I cannot join you on your journey to death. Her harsh reply thrust him into the depths of despair.
Not being able to bear his loneliness any longer, the wealthy man suppressed his embarrassment and turned to wife number two.
Didn't your beloved wife number one turn you down? I don't want any part in this either. You sought me of your own free will. It was me who asked you to marry me.
As he had feared, wife's number two response was also harsh and cold.
The man timidly tried pledging with wife number three. I haven't forgotten the kindness you have shown me, so I should go with you to the border of the village. But forgive me, I cannot go any further, said his last wife.
Yes. This is the story of it. Just for fun, let's role-playing game. Maybe Frank, could you be the wealthy man, and Katayama, Mr. Katayama, the first wife, be the second wife. No, maybe Ross, your second wife, be the third wife. So I made a script for the wealthy man. Is this okay? Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to wife number one. Okay, I read from this part. Before long, however, the wealthy man contracted a terminal illness and was confined to bed. He panicked as the shadow of death closed in minute by minute. He called wife number one to his side and said this.
I feel so lonely. Could you please join me on my journey to the afterlife?
Unlike other matters, I cannot join you on your journey to death.
Harsh reply thrust him into the depths of despair. Not being able to bear his loneliness any longer, the wealthy man expressed his embarrassment and turned wife number two.
Oh, I feel so lonely. Could you please join me on my journey to the afterlife?
Okay, didn't you beloved? No, that's what you have to say. Didn't you Didn't you beloved wife number one turn you down? I don't want any part in this either. You show me of your own free will. It hasn't me.
And her response was also harsh and cold. The man timidly tried pleading with wife number 3.
I feel so lonely. Could you please join me on my journey to the afterlife?
Yeah. Okay. I haven't forgotten the kindness you have shown me, so I shall go with you to the border of the village. But forgive me, I cannot go any further,
said the last wife. This is a well-known story from the Zoagon Sutra. The man represents our human race. Wife number 1 is our body. Wife number 2 symbolizes our money and acquisitions, like fame, status, something like that. And wife number 3 stands for our parents, wife and children, sisters and brothers, and friends. Master Renyo said, at the moment of death, nothing one has previously relied on, whether wife and child or money and treasure, will accompany one. At the end of the mountain road of death, one must cross the river of death alone. Again, Master Renyo said that at the moment of death, nothing one has previously relied on, whether wife and child or money and treasure, will accompany one. At the end of the mountain road of death, one must cross the river all alone. When we come face to face with our own death, everything that gives us peace of mind before will lose all brightness. Whatever money and treasure we have struggled to amass, whatever honor or status we may be ours, will fall away. Everything one depended on until then will no longer bring hope or light. Abandoned by all, one must depart this world alone. What could be sadder? Everyone on earth is headed for this same tragedy. Recognition of this harsh reality makes us begin to think about real happiness. But the purpose of Shakyamuni Buddha taught this harsh reality is not just let us down and feel depressed. As I said at the beginning, his purpose was guiding all people to true happiness, happiness that doesn't collapse, which is referred to as absolute happiness. So it is not that we don't have hope. There is a big hope in Buddhism, and we are heading for this, to achieve this. People in general don't know there are two kinds of happiness, relative happiness and absolute happiness. And they just take relative happiness as absolute happiness by mistake, firmly believing that this happiness of mine will never collapse. This will remain forever. This is a misunderstanding of the reality. We are in big misunderstanding, and this has no foundation at all. So relative happiness doesn't last, and with Buddhist term, this is called impermanence of life. Why Buddha taught impermanence of life? Because his goal was guiding all people to attain absolute happiness. And once we realize impermanence. To realize impermanence of life is to know that our life or our family, our possessions, our health, our status, and everything are fragile. So we can, for the first time, handle these with enough care because they are all fragile. This is a sticker that they put on the box at the FedEx or USPS. So this is one benefit, that learning the impermanence of life. We come to take good care of our partner. We come to take care of our car, our house. Without this sticker, people, or most people, handle stuff without enough care. Like there's a video, employee at the Chinese airport, they were throwing away the suitcases. But at the airport in Japan, they are using handling suitcase with supreme care. And the direction of the handle are all the same. So that's all about my talk about the meaning of pine tree today. So let's sing a song of gratitude.ロクさんを歌います。如来大悲の音読は、身を粉にしてもほずべし、四種知識の音読も、骨を砕きてもしゃすべし、如来大悲の音読は、身を粉にしてもほずべし、四種知識の音読も、骨を砕きてもしゃすべし。なんclose the book.
Donations are accepted in the back of the room in the box. Your donations are very noble to support us share Buddhism with even more number of people. Thank you very much for today's talk.
Thank you.